enrichment for everyone.
There is a lot of diversity in our schools these days. What this means is that there are going to be many, many different patterns of behaviors that teachers will need to become familiar with. You can't learn everything there is to know about every cultural group in your classroom or in your school. What you can have, though, is an attitude of openness and willingness to learn about the children who are in your schools. Children will tell you how the world looks to them by their behavior, by their responses to you in many, many different ways. And what teachers should do or could do is to hone their skills in observation, and also to do a little bit of reading and to talk with adults.
When we're talking about the term intercultural competence, it's kind of the ability to know how to interact with people who come from different language backgrounds and different cultural groups. I think a critical piece of intercultural competence is knowing enough about your own culture so that you understand yourself, because a lot of the differences between groups may not be explicit differences. But the better you are about learning what you value, how you communicate within your own group, the more sensitive and aware you may become about how other people interact within their own group. A really important piece in terms of understanding cultures is to recognize the diversity within cultures. I think one of the problems in the way teachers traditionally used to be taught about culture meant that teachers generalized and maybe stereotyped the ways they expected certain children to behave. Whereas when anthropologists now look at cultures, they look at diversity within and not just across different ethnic groups. And so it's really important for teachers to be aware of the fact that there might be a lot of diversity within the group of children that you have in your classroom, even if they're all considered to be part of one culture or one ethnic group. And so in terms of teachers learning about this, I think it's important for them to learn about the child and the family and the community in which the child is interacting, rather than to buy into some of the previous lists that used to be provided for teachers as to, Latinos or Hispanics are this way, or African Americans are this way, or Asian children are this way. Being aware of the fact that there is a lot of diversity within particular ethnic groups and cultural groups.
Because culture is so important, and because students bring with them cultural differences to the classroom, it's so important for teachers, for ESL teachers, for bilingual teachers, any teacher working with linguistically and culturally diverse students, to be aware, not just to be aware of the cultural differences, but to be aware of the importance of valuing those different ways of doing things that students are bringing with them to the classroom. And it's very hard for a lot of teachers because culture is something we don't usually think about, and how culture defines who we are and defines how we process our environment, how we interact with others. But we have to base all of our teaching and to create in our classrooms an environment that not just is aware of cultural differences, but genuinely values the different ways that different cultures bring with them to the classroom. And so not to set aside the fact that some students may feel that it's immodest to show bare arms, for example, in a school setting. And to value that for what it's worth. And really, cultural diversity, to me as a teacher at least, is a source of great enrichment for everyone. It is so much more exciting to have different cultures represented in my classroom than to have just one or two cultures represented in my classroom.